What's good, everybody? Khunshawn here, and we're gonna be talking about growing up, loneliness, childhood, right? So the title is probably gonna be something way cooler than that, but basically, I'm gonna let you guys know what it was like for me growing up as a child and always moving around from place to place. So, from what I know, a lot of people actually never really leave their neighborhoods or, you know, grow up and go too far away from home, right? But for me, I've always moved around so much that I couldn't really ever call a place home besides Texas, which is what I'll just say, like, oh, where are you from? Texas. So I don't really claim any like specific area or spot or anything like that. But that's due to me just always moving as a kid, right? And in the beginning, I want to say about 4 to 6 years old, around that time, that was really when it was kind of difficult, or I guess more like 6 to 8, because I can't really remember being 4, but around 6 to 8 years old when it would like really hurt me, because at that time I still didn't really, grasp like the future or knowing what's going to happen in the future, right? So like my mom, she was a single parent, so she would end up moving to wherever a better job opportunity was. So one day it's over here, 2 years from now it's over here, right? So I'm always moving around. And also, like, when I went to go live with my dad in North Carolina, so I got to experience that for a year or two. So I've always moved around and I've always met different people just growing up, man. So shout out to anybody that just ever randomly finds this video and they so happen to know me a long time ago. But essentially, what it's like for me growing up without really having, I guess, I don't really know what to really call it. Like, I guess you can't really say a main support structure, because we all have that. If you're constantly like living with the same people. So I'm always living with my mom. So like my main support structure would be my mother, right? So moving around, like, I'd be the new kid and I've been used to being the new kid. So I never, really quite cared about it. But that was around age 14 or so. That's when I started growing the whole, oh, it's just me I gotta really worry about. So I never really got to learn how do you interact with other kids, how do you interact with your peers, how do you meet people and look at them as not just like a temporary, I guess you could say, a temporary person in life, right? Because as we all know, the whole saying, people come and they go, right? This was definitely specific for me because I always went somewhere, I was cool with people, I made friends, and I was friends with people for about 2 years, and then I dipped. And like back then, there was like no cell phones. So you couldn't really just be like, oh yeah, you text my friend, right? So even like my best friend, right, at the time, at like, fourth grade, fifth grade, third grade, my best friends then I never got to grow up with, right? So I don't really ever I never had that real attachment to people to where it's like, yeah, that's my best friend or something like that. Like, I've had it in moments, but then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm leaving, so I guess I'll find a new best friend eventually, right? But I can get how some people could, say, isn't it lonely, right? So this is like the main question I get from people about that situation. And it's like, is it lonely? Not really, but yes, at the same time, right? Because I was always lonely, right? Because I'm an only child. At least on my mom's side, I'm an only child. So, I, live by myself whenever my mom had to go to work. Like, I go to school, make friends, sure, whatever, and then I go home and I'm at home by myself. So whenever I'm moving to a new school and like I'm the new kid, I'm more of like the enigma, right? Nobody really knows who I am, but I take the initiative, at least, especially like back then, to get to know people. So when I get to know somebody, I'm like, oh, hey, what's your name? Nice to meet you. And I think the one thing that really kept me from like really being the black sheep is just my love of video games, right? So growing up, my first babysitter was the Sega Genesis, and then it graduated to the Nintendo 64, right? So those were my babysitters playing video games. So that definitely helped / changed my imagination. I never really realized it until Like I really cemented it and realized it and awoke into it probably about like 2 months ago of figuring out like I know who I am. I know that I am who I am, but why am I am? Why am I the reason that I am who I am, right? That's something that clicked with me fairly recently, right? And it's mostly due to video games, because every video game you play, you're the hero, you save the day, you're the main character, you get the girl, you get the powers, yada, 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 right? So gaming definitely gave me a more sense of I'm the protagonist, and whenever I meet somebody, they're like a side character or a sidekick. And then, later on in life, you realize that that's literally everybody, right? Everybody is the protagonist or the main character in their life. That is how it works. And unless you feel like you are not the protagonist, it is what it is, right? But that is something that we all, I'm just gonna go out and just start saying all, and just correct me. If I'm wrong, leave it in the comments, okay? So I'll just start saying, instead of saying 90, I'm just gonna say, yeah, this, I'm gonna be black and white. Just know I'm not really being black and white with it. I just don't wanna, do what I'm doing now. I'm yapping. This is what the youngins call it. They say I'm yapping. So I'm just gonna be like, yeah, man, this is what everybody feels. This is how everybody, yeah. By the way, not really, but yes. So anyways, when I realized that about myself, it's like, I am what I am. I'm not who I am due to video games, but video games definitely were a big part of, my development. Same thing with like anime as well. I was really into anime as a kid. Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, shonen stuff. Like I was really into shonen. So, it's just so interesting to see this development in myself. And I recently got off the phone with my aunt. Shout out to my aunt. I love you, appreciate you. She gave me so much wisdom, and it was just so random. Like I was literally just watching Avatar, and then she called, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll pick up the phone. And we had over a 2-hour conversation, basically. So it was a great conversation. It gave me a lot of outrospection. It gave me a bit of introspection, but mostly outrospection about like my family and like my lineage and stuff like that. So it's definitely good information for me to have and to pass on to you guys and to ask like the harder questions. How do you feel about your family secrets, your family issues, right? I'm not gonna sit here and air mine out, and I don't expect you to air yours out, but sit and you think about whatever your dark family secrets are. How do you feel about them? Do they give you some type of confliction, especially if it's like, so my family, like dark issue, I would say it stems from my grandfather, right? So that's 2 generations. And so for me, I never got to meet my grandmother, right? But at the same time, it's interesting due to the fact, like, if you think about like family, you got the grandparents, you got the parents, you got the siblings, and then you eventually get your own children, right? So I don't get the introspection or the knowledge that I would get from my grandmother due to her not being around on my mother's side, right? But on my father's side, my grandparents are both still alive, and I talk to them frequently. And I can only guess, it would be the same way, at least from, what you can't really, figure this stuff out. But like growing up, I was always quiet. I was always shy. And like my aunt, she let me realize that and memorize that. Like, yeah, like I was the shy kid. Like whenever family would come over, I'd come out of my room and I'd be like, oh, hey. And I just mostly like be quiet, and then I just go back into my room because that's the safe space, right? My room. Like they would come knock on the door, come check on me, like, oh, what you up to? Oh, I'm just playing a game. You want to play? Something like that, right? And it's like, now that I'm older, now that I've gotten out of my shell, it's like I don't feel like maybe I should have hung out more as a kid because I have the ability to hang out as an adult. Of course, not physically, due to where I live, but through technology, I'm able to get the information that, and the wisdom, most importantly, the wisdom that I wish I could have gotten, but at the same time, I'm not too upset about it because I can still get it now, right? Whatever your family, your dark past, or your dark, if it's currently going on, like your family trauma, your family secrets, how do they affect you, and do they affect you? Because me thinking, maybe I could have got some info, maybe I could have met my grandparents on my mom's side, stuff like that. It's more of a question mark, an enigma. So I don't know how it affect my development, but how does knowing if you do know it, because not everybody knows their family secrets or stuff like that, like how does that affect you? Does it affect you in a negative way? Does it affect you in a positive way? Do you not really think about it? Do you not really care? It's just, I like talking to you guys specifically because it's a way for me to also grow. When I read the comments and I do the polls, and I do polls for everything from like anime to like introspection, you know what I'm saying? And I make videos for content creators, I make videos for myself, I make videos for you. And always I'm checking the comments due to like a need for me, not for like an attention or a validation or anything, but it's for me to like stay level-headed, in all honesty, right? Because like I said, growing up playing the game, it's easy for me to just fall back into that trap, especially now like I don't have to do anything. I could just play games all day if I wanted to, but I don't want to fall back into that because I've done it for so long. On top of gaming actually fucking sucking now, besides that, it's like I want to grow more, and I want to learn more, and I want to hear what other people have to say. Even if I don't agree with it, it's fine. I still want to hear it, right? I want to, like, even if I don't agree with it, what is it that you said? Like, what is it that you say? What is it that you're saying? So at least I'm aware of it, even though I disagree. You feel me? So, it's just me growing as a person. And I've always used YouTube, regardless if, I get a YouTube check or I get YouTube views or whatever. It's like, this is something that's me, that's ingrained in me and internet and technology, and expressing myself through the power of the internet is just how I've grown up and how I've coped or how I've dealt with any situation in life whatsoever. So it's just so awesome to see it, man. So shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for always leaving your comments. This is why I always ask you questions in the videos, because I like reading you guys. Like I shout out to Gray. Like Gray leaves a comment and I'm like, yeah, man, let me check out what Gray got to say. And like, I see your guys' comments, man, and I appreciate it. And I check them out very, very frequently. Like not super frequently, but like frequently enough to where I'm like, oh, I remember who that is. Oh, I know who that is. I remember that profile picture, or that's a new one. And I'll check the Discord too and everything. I would shout out to the Discord. Like all of you that still use the Discord, like I greatly appreciate it. Don't think that just because, it's not moving or it's not lit, you feel me? It doesn't mean that I'm not there. Like I am still there, and like I interact with you guys when I can. And I know you guys have your own busy lives, and I know a lot of you watch me for different reasons, and you blase. Who cares? Who cares about the semantics, man? I appreciate you guys for being you guys. That's literally just it. So thank you guys for always sharing your pieces of your lives with me, as I share a lot of my life with you guys. And that's just something that I just felt like I had to make a video about. But I'm also interested to hear what you guys have to say about like your family secrets or your family lineage or like your family's anything. Because I know a lot of you guys have some pretty cool families. Like shout out to Smirt be telling me some crazy stuff about his life, and I'm like, damn dude, I can't even imagine that. So shout out to all of you guys. I appreciate you all, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.